Hey guys, and welcome back to Honkai Star Rail. In today's video, we're covering probably one of the most commonly asked questions over the last few days, and that is going to be who to save for in the upcoming banners. Now, when we look at the banners we have upcoming, obviously we have Jing Yuan coming very soon in 1.0. Then after that in 1.1, it's looking like we're going to have Luocha and Silverwolf. And then my assumption is that in 1.2, we're probably going to have Kafka and Blade, just based on the fact that those were all the characters that were playable in CBT 2, not in the most recent CBT 3, but we know they've got them made in the game ready to go. And based on story, I feel like that's a fair assessment. But just keep in mind, we did find out about Luocha and Silverwolf before Xela banner was over, which was the first banner of the previous patch before they come out. So if you're not too sure, you want to see if Kafka and Blade will come in that patch 1.2. Hopefully they will announce them before the patch 1.1 first character, whether it be Silverwolf or Luocha, does finish. So then you can decide from there. But those are the characters we are going to be looking at. I'm going to go through the basics of how they will function. So we can't go on meta, who's got the most damage, who's the best and stuff like that, because we don't know. They're always adjusting these things, and numbers will be what numbers are when they release them. But I figure the best thing we can do is look at their playstyles, because keep in mind with this game, yes, there is a bit of meta, and I love looking into meta and, you know, tier lists and all priorities and stuff like that because I enjoy it. But at the end of the day, it is a game. You're supposed to have fun. You can pretty much complete the whole game with any unit you want to and then just build a team around them. So I would prioritize picking the unit that you think looks the most enjoyable to you and you really want, and you will be able to make them work from there. That is my base suggestion for anyone playing. But let's go through the 5 characters themselves, talk about how they will function, and then I'll give you guys some considerations about what you might want to summon for. So first up, we have Jing Yuan. Now, this guy was an absolute monster in the beta because he's an AoE lightning damage dealer, but he also dealt massive single target damage. I think he's quite comparable to Xela in a certain way, in that Xela is a single target damage dealer that can also do really well in AoE situations because of her additional turns, whereas Jing Yuan is an AoE damage dealer, but can also do really well in single target situations because he just had really high multipliers. Now, we'll have to see where they leave his multipliers, but I wouldn't imagine that they nerf him into the ground for the global release version of him. As for his playstyle, I really think it's quite cool. He's got this massive lightning lord that's going to swipe when he uses his ultimate, but it also goes into the turn order as follow-up attacks throughout the battle to deal extra AoE damage, and that is the basic way he's going to play. Moving on from that, we jump into Luocha. I cannot help but just think about Pokemon when I say this guy's name, but this guy is going to be a damage-based healer with what I like to call smart healing. So he has these flowers, and when allies get low, it will proc those flowers to heal the ally or make him use his skill to heal his ally, which is a really cool effect. I'm always a fan of smart heals in games, like heals that only happen when you need them. And the fact that these get used outside of his normal rotation is really cool in my opinion. Now, on top of that, he's going to be damage focused. So if you've used the trial version of him in the game or that little story playthrough, you know his ultimate does AoE damage, which is really cool in my opinion. I like hybrid type units. I think he's one that will be really useful when we look to Memory of Chaos in the future and starting for players to try and 3-star it, because to 3-star, you got to start clearing these things in a set amount of turns or cycles. And when your healer is also contributing to the damage, I think it could be very useful. Plus, on top of that, when you've got a strip in your kit, you look at something like Pella with a strip that can be very useful in a lot of situations. It's just a really solid unit in my opinion. And I really like the healing style of him as opposed to being like a raw defensive healer like the other two we have in the game at the moment. He's more of an offensive healer, which I always appreciate when we look at getting later into games. Early on, it's more defense-based, and then later on, it becomes more offensive-based. So I really do like him for that, and that is the basic way he's going to work. Then we jump into Silverwolf. Now, Silverwolf for me just has one of those amazing designs that I absolutely love. I love her sword blade thing that she gets when you play with her in the tutorial. Plus, her just whole aesthetic, I absolutely love. But let's get get into talking about the way she plays, she has a really unique effect where she can change an enemy's weakness, which is really powerful in this game. Now, she is fully single target focused, but she also brings a lot of other debuffs. Now, that ability to change an enemy's weakness, I feel like is going to be very, very powerful. However, we've already seen with bosses in the game that they do get immune to certain effects. Like if we look at Freeze, for instance, some bosses are immune. So my worry with her is that like that effect may just become an immunity in the future. But in general, I think if she still brings a bunch of debuffs as well, I think she's going to be quite fine nonetheless. And I'm not saying they will make that an effect where they can be immune to it. I'm just saying it is a consideration for me. I always consider power creep and, you know, games trying to make new characters stronger or old characters weaker without actually nerfing them. And I feel like that's a way they could do it. But in general, I think Silverwolf is a amazing unit. I think she's going to be absolutely amazing based on her kit. No matter where her multipliers end up, I think if she keeps that uniqueness to her kit, she's going to have some sort of viability. Even when we look into Memory of Chaos, in trash floors, you know, she's not so strong because she's single target, but we get towards bosses, even if there's two bosses, you split her up between the two, share some debuffs, and, you know, she can be incredibly powerful. Plus, like I said, really wicked design. Then we move on to everyone's mummy, Kafka. So Kafka, I really like the look of her playstyle because she enables my boy Sampo to make him feel like an OP unit. So Kafka's one that she's going to deal AoE lightning damage. I know we've got Saval, then we've got Jing Yuan, and then we're getting Kafka as well. I feel like they've over flooded lightning AoE damage dealers, but Kafka is a dot-based AoE lightning damage dealer, and she has good synergies with other dots. Proccing dots and stuff like that increases damage. So I think she's going to be a really cool unit for those that like playing Affliction Warlock in World of Warcraft and just like dot damage. I really enjoy it. Like I said, I love Sampo, and I feel like she's going to have great synergies with him. So that's sort of the role she's going to fill, AoE, but I also think she's going to be really good in single target if you build a team around that dot-based play. So that is Kafka. And then finally we have Blade. Now I wanted to mention him because he was playable at the end of CBT 2, and I really like his playstyle. I think he's really wicked. He's going to be a wind destruction unit. Think of him like Arlen on steroids is the idea, but he bases his damage around max HP. Now, what we're looking at with him is based on CBT 2, so this could change drastically by the time we see him, but in general, he's going to be that unit that sacrifices his own HP, heals himself up, and deals damage based on max HP, which is a kind of playstyle I also really do enjoy. I like those bruiser type units that can self-sustain. So that's kind of what we're looking at for him. Like I said, that is based on CBT 2, so a lot has changed in other characters since then, and a lot could change in him, but I just wanted to touch on him because I feel like he's the last character that we've actually had playable in the betas. So I feel like he'll be in that range of these characters, maybe 1.2, if not pushed back to possibly 1.3. Keep in mind with him and Kafka, we haven't had them officially announced yet, so this is just speculation because we've had them playable before. So now that we've gone through all those characters, I wanted to bring up some considerations. Like I said at the start, choosing your favorite character based on playstyle is always the way I would recommend to go, because in this game, the entire game can be cleared with any unit you want. The only thing that's a real challenge at the moment is the Memory of Chaos, and remember, we're still having people push through that at level 60 and 70 with their characters. Eventually we'll get to level 80, and yes, this will be the hardest mode in the game, but I still think prioritizing fun over all else is going to be ideal. Plus, I also think all these units will have their place anyway. The next thing I want to talk about is gamble or save to 180. So summons are always a gamble. Like, that's the way they are. So you've got to consider in yourself whether you want to save to 180 pulls for a character to guarantee that character you want, or if you want to take a gamble, maybe pull on one earlier than the one you really want, hope to win the 50-50. There's a lot of considerations in summons, but just know if there's one character you specifically want, the only way you're going to guarantee to get that character is going to be to save 180 summons. Yes, you could get them earlier, but that is just the one thing that I want to mention because it sounds obvious, but you know, people always get trigger happy with summons and stuff like that. Next up is, do you even care about Memory of Chaos? Because like I said, if you don't care about Memory of Chaos, none of this matters. Just choose who you like, because you'll be able able to clear Simulated Universe. You'll be able to clear everything that you can farm in the game. There's nothing else you've really got to stress about. So you can just have fun with whichever character you want. The next thing is, if you do care about pushing Memory of Chaos, is do you have a second healer / shielder with Gepard? Do you have Gepard or Bailu essentially? Because if you don't, you may want to look to Luocha, because he's going to give you that secondary healing option. Honestly, even if you have Bailu or something like that, Luocha is still not a bad choice, because like I said, he's that more offensive healer. But if you're already stacked with a couple of healers, then it makes it easier for you to go for another DPS. Now, in general, I always like supports and stuff like that, because I feel like they're more usable across the board, whereas you do get a lot more DPS into the games. But at the same time, Silverwolf sick, Kafka's sick, Jingyuan sick, Blade's sick. It's hard to choose. You just got to play the choose the favorites game. But yeah, if you don't have a second healer and you really want to push in the Memory of Chaos and try and compete in there, then Luocha is probably going to be a really good pick for you. Now, moving on past that is, will you reach the 300 pity by the time he comes out? Now, for free to play, I'm going to say you will not reach the 300 pity where we get a select character. But if you're someone spending a bit and you're spending mildly, but you've done some normal banner summons, something like that, if you think you will get to the 300 pity, then or sometime close after that banner, and you're going to pick up like a Bailu or something, then maybe you don't have to go for that healer route. Maybe you just pick the DPS you want, but maybe you don't have a Bronya. So all these things, I'm not saying you should do this or that or whatever. I'm just putting all these considerations out there for things for you guys to think about. And the final one is, do you need those 4 stars? We have Jing Yuan coming up very, very soon, and he has got some pretty good 4 stars on his banner with Su Shang and Ting Yun that people will be looking for. So if you don't have them, do you want to go ahead and pull for some of these 4 stars? For me personally, now I'll jump in to what I'm doing. I've got a 4-star only account, which obviously I'm going to summon for the 4 stars because that's all I care about. I got a paid account where I'm going to summon to get every new character, so that doesn't matter. But I also have a secret little free-to-play account that I started as my story playthrough account. Now on that account, I did get Bailu and Gepard, so I'm pretty set for healing. I still kind of want Luocha on it though, but in general, I think I'm gonna, on that account, summon on the Jing banner, but stop before soft pity. Soft pity being 75, because I don't actually want Jing himself. However, if I get him in like 75 pulls, I'm still going to be pretty happy. But what I really want to do on that account is get myself a Su Shang from his banner. So I'm going to summon on his banner until I get a Su Shang, because I already have Ting Yun on that account. So summon on Jing Yuan until I get a Su Shang, then stop. Then I'm going to save for Kafka. However, if I get to the point where I'm thinking, if they announce Kafka and she is in 1.2, and maybe Silverwolf's still out when they announce Kafka, if I have over 180 summons, or I project myself to be over that 180 summon cap, then I will do summons to the point of where I think I will only have 180 left for the Kafka. So in general, what I'm saying is I really want Kafka. I want to have 180 summons saved, but if I think I'm going to have 200 summons by the time she comes, then I'll use 20 summons on that Silverwolf and try and get lucky on that one. Or I may even see if Luocha or Silverwolf banner have some 4 stars that I really want, and then consume some summons on those, going for those 4 stars. But in general, like I said, that's what my plan is. Get the Su Shang and the Ting Yun from the Jing banner, then save for the character that I want, which is, for me, out of these ones, it's going to be Kafka, I think. But I always get trigger happy when new banners come, so who knows, I may just go for something else anyway because I'm hopeless. And then I got to consider Blade as well because he's pretty cool too. So like I said, I'm still not 100% certain, but those are the characters, those are the considerations. Let me know what you guys are doing. Thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.